All right, thank you so much for staying with the Money Report Town Hall session. We're still talking about the youth agenda in the 2022 arithmetic. We've seen a lot being promised by the leaders, 4 million jobs, 4 cabinet positions. We've seen left, right and center, 75% of the cabinet positions being given to the youth. But what is the difference now? Midhiora, you wanted to interject on the issue of how much of a voice do the young leaders actually have in the parties?
Yes, and I would actually understand why the viewer is assuming that we are here to just regurgitate what the party leaders have told us to do. Because my colleague here, Sila, has said how much of consultation has gone on.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask him, when his party leader, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, made an appointment to the East African Legislative Assembly, of which he picked his son, when he contacted you or when he consulted you, you said that was okay. There is no any other competent Kenyan that is qualified to take up that job. You are okay with that consultation. So you sat and said yes.
I think, Trevor, I need the right.
You can respond. Respond now.
Yes, let me respond to Midhiora.
Yeah.
I'm not here to discuss the decision of my party leader on an appointment or the person fronted for ELA. Position. All right. Let me tell you, in the world of politics, all over the world, this is not a scenario in Kenya alone, where a senior politician has forwarded their kin or their relative to positions. This has happened all over the world, but that is not the main discussion.
And that makes it okay.
The main discussion with Yora surrounds us as young people, because we can sit here and argue about my party leader's decision to forward whoever name we forwarded, or we can sit here and discuss the issues facing us as young people. Because, number one, when we talk about, and this is something I wanted to talk about previously, regarding business, there's a lot of red tape. When today a young person decides to start a water bottling plant,
you're deflecting.
No, I'm not deflecting.
Let him finish.
This is my right of
Let him finish, Midhiora.
When a young person decides...
Trevor, he's beating around the bush.
I'm not. I said...
Let him finish, Midhiora.
I wish he just answered.
Midhiora, let him finish.
I said...
Decorum as a presidential candidate.
Okay. Yes, I'm not here to discuss the decision made or not made. By the way, party leader's son is qualified for that position. I can tell you that for free. Check his CV and you'll understand. But that is not the discussion. The discussion we're having here is about the youth equation in 2022. And I'm talking about the red tape. Yeah. Today, Trevor, if I decide to start a water bottling plant, I require close to 10 licenses for me to be able to qualify to start that business. And the corruption that is within our agencies is killing everything. These are the things we should be discussing. Yeah. How do we reduce this red tape? All right? How do we enhance access to finance without... Imagine, Trevor, today, a young person from my constituency in Kaiti wants to start a chicken farm with 200,000 shillings. Goes to a bank, is asked for a collateral of 300,000, 400,000. Where are they going to get it? These are the policies we need to be discussing. Okay. All right? How do we make the youth able to access finance? How do we make the business environment for our young people to be able to support their ideas? Okay. Today, we have a lot of youth, Trevor, that are involved in arts, for example. World over, music has been one of the industries that are paying very well within our youth. Tell me one bank today, a young person who wants to record a song and a video, which will cost about 200,000 shillings, will go and get finance. Okay.
None. I'll come to you in just a bit. And Midhiora, I'll come to you on that issue of nepotism and appointments, because you're running for president.
Yes, please.
Would you then definitely say you will never appoint any of your relatives? And is it fair? What if they are qualified? We'll come back to that in
exactly.
But let's come to, first of all, Saddam, and talk about... We all agree on the issues here. It's the implementation, that's where the problem is.
And
so how
we, as the Democratic Party, have the solution. And we, first of all, we will stop borrowing locally, okay? If we stop borrowing locally, it will make loans available and affordable. It will spur manufacturing, and it will spur the cottage industry. We are going to renegotiate the current existing loans, okay? We will borrow from...
Can I... Let him finish. Let him finish.
We will borrow from one, which will lend us a loan at an interest rate of 1%, and pay the Chinese loan, which is at an interest rate of 16%. We are going to utilize the local minerals to source for international bonds, of which we are going to use these bonds to pay for the existing loans. Now, it is obvious, the prosperity of any country is dependent on how much they have invested on the youth. The youth of today are feeling neglected and are not on the decision-making table. We as the Democratic Party, we are going to make 50% of all appointments, we are going to have youths. We are going to overhaul the tax regime. We are going, everybody from all these presidential aspirants are only talking about giving handouts, and nobody's talking about baking this cake. Now we are going to increase the tax bracket, make sure that also people who are exempted from paying taxes, for example, member of parliament, all these dignitaries, they are all going to participate in baking this big cake. The next thing, we are going to give tax incentives and tax holidays, especially to local manufacturers, local investors, and foreign investors. What will this do? It will increase the job bracket. Yeah. It is going to invite more investors to come in our country and set up industries. Okay. The backbone of our initiative is going to be to fight corruption. The Honorable Muturi has no single iota of corruption case in his manifesto, okay? He has none. He brings in wealth of experience from the judiciary. From now, he has served in the legislative arm. Yeah. Spanning across a career of almost 30 years, I find it fit for him now to lead the executive. Okay. Before I finish, innovation and technology. This is going to be the next frontier. Yeah. Okay? We can choose to, there are so many others like agriculture, but innovation and technology. I can give an example. Kids in the Asian countries make watches, okay? But here in Kenya, we have a very big gap. You find a very, somebody in his 40s can only make a plastic cup or a plastic jug. It is worrying. And we have young, brilliant minds. I can't remember the names from Kikuyu. This guy made an artificial hand. This is artificial intelligence, meaning if somebody has lost his or her arm, can be fitted with this artificial arm and works perfectly. We had another perfect example in Nyeri. Young man uses some scrap metal and plastics and forms a flying helicopter. This thing takes off from land and lands successfully. This means the youth have the intellectual muscle. All we are lacking is the resource muscle. Okay. And that's why we are urging, we will have youths on the decision-making table. If we say, my simple ideology is like, if we set up a youth commission or a youth ministry, we are just locking our talents in that ministry or in that department. Let's bring them, have cabinet secretaries, have permanent secretaries, because what seems to be lacking, there's a disconnect between those who are the office bearers and those who are out here. Yeah. What happens when you have a graduate who goes to a rally because he has nowhere to go and find some opportunity? He goes there for a handout, whereas this guy is very bright, and the person on top of that, on the podium, his credentials are wanting. What we are saying, let's check the integrity of these leaders. Okay. We cannot have the same monkeys, the same forest, and expect different results. Yeah.
Simon, what are you as youth leaders with positions doing to empower your fellow youth? Because there's always been that complaint from young people. You go in there with the right ideology, you know what our issues are, but you get absorbed into the system. What are the likes of yourselves as the young leaders in parties doing to empower your fellow young people?
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. As a party, we have several programs that we are carrying out to make sure that young people feel fully involved. They are part of the process, including making sure that we populate our structures with young people. making sure that we take them through programs that will make them more informed, more prepared, more skilled. We have partners as a party that finance our programs, and part of our program is to make sure that we get young people, we take them through trainings, we take them through workshops, we empower them, so that other than being youthful, then we also have an element of being skillful, such that we will have a crop of young people that are well prepared to face the future and even to take leadership of this country in the future. If you look at some generations back, and I will take an example of the generation of former President Mwai Kibaki. There's an old friend of mine, an old mzee, who told me that if you looked at how the founding father of this nation was working, you would think he was working with children. Because the likes of Mwai Kibaki, Arap Moi, Konyo Kiano, were extremely young people, youthful people. So when you would see them around the founding president, you would think he's working with, his grandchildren. But you see, that was a generation that agreed to come out, to rise and be counted. So what we are doing as a party is to make sure that we get young people prepared. We get young people properly shaped, properly mentored to face the future. Because, Trevor, I can tell you, if you look at the challenges that are facing young people today or across Africa, you will not believe it. We are told every day, you are the leaders of tomorrow, you are full of potential, you can make it. But I can tell you, we have young people in this republic, and it's a shame that cannot even afford 2 meals in a day. We have young people with young families who cannot pay rent. You not find young people living in Lavington. You not find young people living in Karen. You not find people living in Ridgeways or Kiambu Road. Young people are mushrooming from the slums. They're in Kawangware. They're in Mandare. They're in Mukuru Kwajenga. That is where they're living. Because we have reduced, or our system has reduced them to become downtrodden, to become the wretched of the earth. Partly because of a dragon that we call corruption. And we make a mistake because we keep thinking that it is politicians that perpetuate corruption in this republic.
Is it not?
No, they're just beneficiaries, and actually they actually take the leftovers. Public servants, public bureaucrats. That is where the dragon lies. You see, a politician will come to office for 5 years, and probably he will not be re-elected, or she will not be re-elected. But you have these people in public service that have become demagogues, that have decided to hold this nation hostage. And you see, for example, if my brothers here succeed, if he succeeds to become an MP, before he even learns how the system works, you realize 4 years have ended. But you have directors in ministries, people who want to become billionaires in public service. Public service is about service. And so I think we need an approach whereby people in public service must be shaped in their thinking to know that that is service. If you want to be rich, if you want to be pompous, if you want to be luxurious, go to business. Otherwise, when the president addresses the nation and says, we are losing 2 billion shillings per day, simple mathematics says that's around 800 billion per year. And he speaks as if he's held hostage, as if he can't do much about it. Because this dragon is so entrenched in public service, and it fights back, and fiercely so. So I think part of the solution to our problems is also making sure that as young people, we must overhaul our way of looking at things and the way we also treat each other. Because you walk into a public office, as Sila was saying, you want a certain license, and you're even very quick to offer some 50 or 200 shillings because you want to jump the queue. You don't want to line up. We are already perpetuating corruption. Kenya's biggest problem and young people's biggest problem today is public wastage, embezzlement, looting of public funds. This country is so endowed. But what happens is that this money is diverted to a few people. They do a few apartments. So you go to the hospitals. People cannot get medicine. You go to schools. We cannot give quality education to our children because our nation has been gagged. It has been gagged by the people that are expected to serve us. So what is young people's equation again? Young people must rise up as a generation. They must rise up to be counted, and they must define what they want. They must define their struggle.
Okay.
And our struggle as young people is to make sure that we can put food on the table, decent food, Macu, not just food. Young people are surviving on soda and these things they call KDF. Young people are surviving on chapati and madodo every day. They can't afford to eat good food. Why? Because we have a government that has decided to make us the wretched of the earth. So, all said and done, 2022 is going to be a very defining moment for young people. You know why? I am a father, Trevor. I have a daughter, 1.5 years old. My daughter cannot wait for me to panga myself, to jipanga, so that she can eat. My daughter will not give me time that I have to gamble around so that she can get good med care. It has to be 2022. It has to be today. It has to be yesterday. We must get this thing right. Okay. We must get ourselves the leadership we deserve and the leadership that this nation deserves.
But are we organized enough?
Because this nation, Trevor, this, if you look at our neighbors, you know, this nation has so much potential. We can achieve so much, but leadership is the issue. Okay. So people must ask themselves hard questions. And it cannot be euphoric. It has to be logic.
All right. I have to take some feedback that's coming through here real quick, and then I'll give you 30 seconds each for closing remarks because we're running out of time. Are young people organized enough to change the future of the nation? That's what I'd like you all to give as a closing remark. 30 seconds each. Let's see what you're saying. Bring them up on feedback and see here. Handi Nyaoro says societal inequalities is the major challenge facing the youth. For example, number 1, no equal job opportunity. Number 2, no financial security for loans and credits. And number 3, most employers require at least 3 years job experience. Okay, let's see what else you're saying here. Gideon Ongito says these young leaders need to be realistic about what is ailing the economy. When one says kazi si kazi, what does it mean when 14 million people, majority being young people, are in the informal sector? We need to support the informal sector. Wanja Douglas says majority of youth leaders in Kenya are just puppets of bigger gods and goddesses in higher offices that pay for such voices, and hence they have no avenues for any changes. Only revolutions will help the youth reclaim their glory. Nyantika Chester says it's very unfortunate that even educated youths aren't an exception when it comes to negative ethnicity. There isn't any difference between an educated youth and an uneducated youth on the polling day. Okay. Infamous Legend says, ask those upcoming leaders why youth can't form their own parties and advance their own ideologies instead of following the usual banal politicians. There's no youth constituency, just like there's no woman constituency. Our youth vote along tribal lines. Until youth and women unite and speak at the ballot, they will remain voting machines who are easily brainwashed by the political class. Osmiam says youth can change their lives themselves by voting for accountable leaders and taking up the positions of power. Currently, youth have been reduced to voting machines, enjoying depression, drug addiction, and crime and etc. Wanja again says youth in this country have no confidence in our political elites. They only need us during their campaigns. Old people who have led us since we were born and not ready to vacate the leadership scene. Youth in Kenya is just a cliche. Okay. Omulo Jr. says youth given a chance, they can deliver. We thank Citizen TV for giving the youth a platform to discuss important issues of national interest affecting them. You can see how organized and articulate the youth leaders are. So co-analyst says if the youth want to change their lives, they must register as voters. They must plunge into politics and vie for positions and be the majority in parliament. We need to create the right environment for job creators to thrive. Francis says, I would like to hear what these young people's perspectives are in regards to the integration of the East African community. We are the biggest composition of the population in the region. Do they see beyond Kenya? All right. Mudiora, I'll start with you on your closing remarks. Are the youth organized enough to shape the future of this nation? And if not, what needs to be done? 30 seconds.
We are getting there. Before, we didn't have a group of young people come together and look to register and run a political party. The Great Nationhood Party of Kenya is addressing that aggressively.
Yeah.
And like I told you, our campaigns are in top gear, which is why we were in the CBD.
Yeah.
Trevor?
That's why you're wearing what you're wearing.
Yes. And we'll be in this attire until the job is done. Real change is coming to Kenya. If we are going to end corruption,
Yeah.
if we are going to grow the economy and create the jobs that Kenyans need, if we are going to provide quality, affordable, and accessible healthcare, if we are going to offer transformative education to our children, then we cannot leave the reins of this nation in the hands of those who have put it on its knees. It's time for the ruling elite to go home. And we are saying in 2022, when President Uhuru Kenyatta goes home, he needs to park in that bus Raila Amolo Odinga, William Samoei Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, everyone that has been in government that gave us a promise that has not been kept. It's disappointing that an athletic nation such as Kenya currently does not have a stadium that's approved by FIFA. Kasarani, where our president was inaugurated as the president of Kenya, has been under construction forever. So is Nyayo Stadium. So now our teams, including our national teams, may soon have to look for somewhere to play international matches. Yet we have people who promised that just to make it good, we are not going to have just 6 stadiums. They'll make it 9. And now we have 0. It's disappointing, and time has come for Kenyans to come together and say enough is enough.
Okay.
Let us reboot. Let us start afresh. Let's believe in ourselves and make Kenya great.
All right. Saila?
I'm happy Mutiora did not mention my party leader when he was mentioning the people
because
that
I had already discounted initially picking his son.
The people let me tell you, let me say something about that. Number one, Mutiora, His Excellency's son is a youth, is very qualified for that position, and that decision was made by the party. Therefore, as a youth, I support that decision. Now,
your closing remarks on whether the youth are organized enough to change
Exactly.
the future of this nation.
I want to believe that majority of our youth have started to get organized. Maybe some years back we were not, but right now we are carrying a lot of civic education to our fellow youth to get involved. I have traversed my constituency asking the youth to register to vote, organizing them in clusters so we can have our numbers boosted towards the next general election. And therefore, I want to believe that as time goes by, our youth is coming together, and this is a force to reckon. Come 2022. And therefore, Trevor, just 2 seconds. I want to mention something very important. In the next government of 2022, what as youth we are looking for is access to finance to our businesses.
Okay.
All right? Simon is talking about youth living in the slums. I want to disagree a bit. We have youth that are doing very well, although not a high number, but we are youth that are doing very well, living in Karen, living in Muthaigas and the rest. And therefore, what we should look at is these youths that are living in the slums, that have their businesses collapsing. What are we doing wrong?
Okay.
What policies can we implement to have them also uplift their lives and be able to take care of their families?
Right.
That is the solutions that we are looking for.
Okay.
And just to finish, as you've seen in our party leader has proposed a 24-hour economy, which is one of the things that have boosted economies around the world. Okay. Agriculture, again, is green gold that must be focused on.
Yeah.
We have very good climatic conditions in this country to create value chain addition, which will create jobs along the process.
Okay.
And therefore, I think if some of these policies are to be implemented, I think our youth will have the platform to go to the next level.
Okay. Saddam? Closing remarks, very briefly.
First, I'd like to thank the young man, Patrick Cherono, who has gone to court and sought an extension of the voter registration period. That's a good move. Also, as the youth, as we retreat to our tribal enclaves, which is not a crime. We all come from different ethnic backgrounds. As we all retreat to our tribal cocoons, let us vote for one of our own in those tribal cocoons, okay? For example, the youths in Northeastern, once the politics are closed, they retreat to their tribal cocoons. Let them elect one of their own. For example, in Northeastern, I'll be a very happy man if I get a governor in Northeastern who is below the age of 35. We, the youth, should not be the people who work for individual leaders or leaders, but as partners and stakeholders of the leadership. Okay. We want to sit in that round table, in that decision-making table, okay, where we should be engaged as co-authors of our narratives, okay, not as foot soldiers of a struggle. Okay.
Yeah, you see, Trevor, Rome was not built in one day. Yeah. The fact is that young people today have really a reason to some awakening of getting to self-actualization. We are seeing a lot of young people doing great things. We have many young people in government. We have many people in public sector. We have many people in young people in so many things in business and all that. Yeah. So the point is, young people must first and foremost adopt the mindset of cooperation, because our parents have something that you can only acquire through being there long enough, and it is called experience. We must adopt a cooperation, generational cooperation mindset, whereby we will get the older generation cooperating with the young generation, so that speed and energy can meet experience. And that we will have a much more stable nation to enjoy for ourselves and the future generations. So another point as I close would be that young people must be the change they want to see. You know, we speak a lot of what is wrong, what is not happening, but it has to be from an individual perspective, so that I can influence my brother and sister, then they can influence the neighbor, then the neighbor can influence the village mate. Yeah. We must be the change that we seek. It must start from mass, by having the right mindset, by being teachable, by allowing ourselves to be mentored, because as I said earlier, yeah, it cannot just be about zeal. It cannot be just about energy. It cannot just be about being youthful. And I would also say that our nation has very progressive laws, very progressive constitution. Our constitution, as I said, even provides for not just the civil rights, but even economic rights. Yeah, that's quite detailed. So we need a leader that will make sure these beautiful progressive laws are properly implemented to the latter. Yeah, and I would say, as a party, we are very committed to the rule of law. We are very committed to constitutionalism. We are very committed to good governance. And if only we implemented 50% of our laws, the constitution and these beautiful, wonderful pieces of legislation, yeah, I'm telling you, things would be very different, Trevor. Okay. So young people, you must be the change that you seek.
All right. Thank you so much for making time this evening. Simon Gikuru, Secretary General, ANC, Saddam Gashie, Youth Leader, Democratic Party, Sila Kaloki, Youth League Member, Wiper and Muthiora Kariara, Party Leader, TGN. You're running for President. We're hoping to see you more around the streets and see your campaigns as well, and keep track.
We have been seen, we've been felt, yeah, and we know Kenyans will come around. Yeah. There are those who stole the race by starting to campaign right after the last election. Okay. We are law-abiding citizens, and when we say rule of law, yeah, we believe, stick to it. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for making time this evening as well, and all the feedback that's come through. My name is Trevor Mbija. On behalf of the entire team that made this possible, thank you so much for watching. Good night.